Hi, my name's Dave, and I play games on their easiest difficulty setting. Hi, Dave! Well, I used to, and Persona 4 is the game to get back into that headspace. You see, ever since I started the current incarnation of this channel 6 years ago, I've been doing this for 6 years, I made the decision to play games on either normal or the default setting so I could get the intended developer experience. I thought this was needed to be able to purposefully talk about the game. Before the channel, I would play games on the easiest difficulty setting because I wanted the least friction in getting through them. I rarely completed video games because too many of them outstayed their welcome. Even with cheat codes and walkthroughs, I felt too many games outstayed their welcome. Heck, part of the reason for starting to critique games on my channel in the first place was I thought it would force me to actually complete some goddamn video games. And it has! In the past year, I've completed Dark Souls, Planescape Torment, Witcher 3 with its DLC, Deus Ex, and many others. Some of these games I've been playing the first hours over and over and over and over again for years. Funnily enough, one of the games I did manage to complete back in the day was Persona 4 in 2011 on the PS2. There was something about the game that compelled me to return to it daily, even if I only spent 15 to 20 minutes to grind up some levels so I could get through the next boss. Despite how obvious it actually may be, when the game finally asked me to pick a suspect, I thought about it for a hot minute, came up with somebody. I was kind of unsure, I picked them, and then I turned out to be right. Well, I will forever cherish that memory. Persona 4 is a special game, and even though initially I wanted to play through it and make a video on Persona 5, Atlas are dragging their feet on a PC port if that's ever going to happen, so I thought I'd play through my copy of Persona 4 Golden instead and make a video on that. Persona 4 Golden, the game that taught me that difficulty is only an impediment to the game's experience. Let me tell you about it. I started my playthrough of Persona 4 Golden like any other game on my channel. I picked the normal difficulty option and started playing. It was a little ways after the first dungeon, when Kanji was about to get thrown into the TV, that I started rethinking what I was doing. Now, a quick recap for how time is structured in Persona 4. Once a dungeon opens up, you can enter it to rescue the person thrown in. If you're strong enough, you can even do it in 1 day of game time. But that's not the experience most first-time players will have. After a few floors or less, you'll run out of SP, won't be able to heal anymore, and it's time to exit the TV and rest. You can always come back tomorrow, but can you? Suddenly the game is asking you to join a sports club and a culture club. The friends you're making want to hang out after school, and it's important to dedicate time to all of this because by increasing your social links, you'll be able to fuse stronger personas which make surviving the dungeons easier, such as your party members gaining bonus abilities that can trigger during combat. I found myself torn between wanting to rescue Yukiko from the dungeon and maxing my social links. Now this is by design, but in the end I had to ask myself if I was enjoying this push and pull in a game that's steeped in the fear of missing out. Part of this fear is not knowing the right way forward. Every fight needs experimentation to find the enemy's weakness, and mistakes can be costly in terms of healing items, SP, and just your patience. Meanwhile, there is an optimal path in each social link scenario to gain the most points for unlocking the next social link. Often this will have to do with telling the person what they want to hear, but not always. It's never easy to know the right thing to say in the moment. And saying the wrong thing can waste multiple days of hanging out with the person in question instead of being able to level up the social link optimally. If you really stuff up, you can move back down the social link scale. And then with the female characters, there's the added minefield of dancing around the romance options, which often branch off to their own scenarios. There's a year of in-game days to solve the game's mystery and to max as many social links as possible. Here I was in month 2, and I already felt like I was playing suboptimally. I wasted far too much time in the dungeon, let alone having to fight the boss more than once, and it felt like I was constantly saying the wrong thing while trying to max my social links. I was playing suboptimally. And because I didn't feel adequately rewarded in my time with the game thus far, the knowledge that things were just going to get harder as time went on, because that's how games work, caused me to despair. So, because I was playing the golden version of the game, I had a radical notion. Why don't I start over on very easy? I'm only 8 hours in, and if I follow a day-by-day guide, I can attack the dreaded fear of missing out on 2 fronts. Damn FOMO. I was hoping I'd be able to curb stomp the enemies in the dungeons while perfectly navigating not only the social links, but the ways to boost my stats. As it turns out, many of the social links use stats as gates for progression. So, did it work? I mean, I did end up beating the game on this difficulty, so it must have, right? Well, I know none of you are in suspense, so I have to throw a curveball at you. Yes, it worked, but not in the way you might expect. The game's design rebels against the notion of a perfect playthrough, so I had to contend with that. But most importantly, playing the game on very easy made me love what Persona 4 has to offer as a game even more. You know how I mentioned that some of the social links are gated through stats? Well, the leveling of stats features a degree of randomness. Eating at the Chinese diner, reading a book, studying, folding origami cranes, this all will level up a stat, but sometimes the game will throw a bonus in there. And in the case of the diner, the stats that are leveled up are random as well. To get around this, the guide that I was following recommended saving before any stat boosting activity, and to reload the save until the maximum stat boost is achieved. Fuck that! I mean, yes, later in the game I kept reloading the save so I could catch the Sea King without wasting more than 1 day on it. But that's different. What this means is that for some of the social links, I was behind where the guide needed me to be, and then things just kept snowballing from there. It didn't help that once Nanako gets taken, the ability to increase the social links of Nanako and Dojima are taken away until right near the end of the game. I was able to max them after that point, but for the longest time I had thought my window for finishing their stories was over, and I would have to complete the game not knowing how they ended. Keeping on the social links for a moment, I was not able to max out every social link. I got close. I only left 2 on the table, I and Marie. I was close with I too. I didn't prioritize Marie because during December in-game, I didn't know I got January to wrap up loose ends. I thought I needed to rush all the social links before the final dungeon. At that time, I had Naoto, Marie, and I left, with Nanako and Dojima out of commission. I thought that if I couldn't finish any one of these, I might as well get as far along with all of them as I could. I had no idea Marie left in early January. Yet another thing the game doesn't tell you. I at least got Naoto's story done. I liked the character, and was never able to max out the social link on my original playthrough, largely due to how anyone is meant to solve those riddles without a guide. Yes, I even maxed out the Fox, Margaret, and uncovered the Hunger Arcana. I was able to focus so much on the social links, my favorite part of the game, because now everything else was a cakewalk. Now, returning to choosing the very easy difficulty, how did that impact my experience playing the game? Well, for starters, the dungeons were now fun. One of my favorite elements of any RPG is returning to an early area late in the game and rolling over everything with how powerful my party is. I can now experience this all the time. For the first dungeon, I clicked the rush button and my team would just hit the enemies until they died. Resistances to physical attacks be damned. Later on, when the enemies reflected physical attacks, I relied on strong magic, usually the wind spell from Yosuke, as he often went first, or the almighty damage spell, because by that point, with the money I was making, it was easy to pay the Fox to regain any spent SP. And then, when Rize started revigorating HP and SP after every battle, I didn't even have to worry about that. The only time when I actually had to plan out my attacks was in the final dungeon and then the secret dungeon, and even then it was more of a, This is the best way to get the fight over quickly, rather than this is how you survive to fight another day. The best part of all of this was getting to a dungeon mini-boss, reading the guide on all its attacks and the best way to survive, and then just punking it with high-grade physical attacks for a round or two until it fell. Even though I think the power fantasy of Persona 4 isn't in its battle system, playing on very easy made me feel powerful. Seeing a leveling up screen after almost every fight during the first couple of dungeons felt great. And along with all that added experience comes added money. I never had to worry about summoning personas from Margaret. I never had to worry about buying new weapon and armor upgrades, and I could buy as many books as I wanted alongside healing items from the shop. The only time that money was a concern was during the couple of game sessions I devoted to maxing Margaret's social links, and even then I was never in danger of running out. I just didn't have as much in my wallet as I was used to having. So, I bet some of you are now asking, well, you've made the game part of the game very easy. The dungeons aren't a challenge. You have more than enough money to deck out your party and summon the strongest personas. Since you're following a guide, you know how to spend your time and what to say to further social links. So how does all this make the game even better than playing it properly on normal? It's because the gameplay of Persona 4 is its most tedious aspect. Half the reason the game is so long is due to how much time it takes fighting monsters and grinding out levels in the dungeons, especially if you take more than one day to either rescue the person trapped, or if you're spending time going back to a dungeon to grind or collect items for side quests. I've also spoken about how much time can be wasted if you don't know how to navigate the social links, or if your stats aren't high enough. Playing the game on very easy and following a guide made the most tedious aspects of the game trivial, which allowed me to revel in and enjoy what I found so compelling about the game originally and on this replay. See, the power fantasy of Persona 4 isn't in its combat system. Oh, I've already mentioned how cool it can feel to steamroll enemies and receive a new level after almost every fight, but that's not what made me feel powerful. No, the power fantasy of Persona 4 is threefold. Having a positive high school experience, helping those around you grow and become better people, and having mastery over one's time. Now I know what you're saying. Dave, you're so suave, handsome, articulate, and amazing in these videos where you talk about video games. Are you telling me you didn't have a good time in high school? Yes, dear viewer, as hard as it may be to believe, I did not have a positive high school experience. There are many reasons for it, but one of the greatest is culture shock. Moving from the US to Australia at such a young age hurt me in such a way that I was not even able to accept the differences of the Australian people until university. Add to that the general attitude of teenagers to those who seem like oddball outcasts, plus those who are not academically or physically gifted, and yes, I would say that my high school days sucked pretty hard. But in Persona 4, that's not the case. Having the special power of the Fool Arcana, Yu attracts people to him, and we'll touch on this more when we discuss the personal growth aspect of the power fantasy. Spend enough time studying, and your peers will marvel at your test scores. Sure, most of your friends in the game are only attached to you through the Midnight Channel case, but by the end, these same people are literally willing to die for you, and the game takes many occasions to just have the group hang out and enjoy each other's company in a series of vignettes. Some folks dislike these moments. They find them, quote, too anime. And yeah, quite a lot of the humor doesn't hit for me, but some of it does. The game can be really funny, but most importantly, the game keeps reinforcing the bonds of friendship and how great your high school days can be, filled up with sports, culture, a part-time job, and spending time around those you care about. My dearest teenage memories are also linked to fun times with friends and family, and Persona 4 is able to make high school a comforting and positive experience. The friends you spend time with and the people you meet at your part-time jobs are how the social links start. There are 28 social links total. Not every link is a story where you help someone grow past their trauma or what's holding them in place, but most of them are. People open up when they're around you, and as long as you say the right thing to them, mostly telling them what they want to hear, you'll be the sounding board that will help them grow. I've been trying to work on my listening skills for years now. I used to be a serial interrupter, and I still am to some extent, but I want to work on my listening skills as I want to allow people to open up when they're around me. I want to be able to react to what they say, rather than either giving advice or immediately launching into a story of my own, similar to what I just said, another thing I'm working hard to overcome. It was empowering to be that character in Persona 4, to be silent for the majority of conversations, and to only talk when my advice was wanted, and then to be able to say the right thing that strengthened our relationship and helped them take the next step on their journey of personal growth. This is why social links are my favorite part of Persona 4. Well, almost. Taking one step back to the macro level, Persona 4 is about using one's time wisely. As we're playing a high school student, each day is mostly like the last, with the familiarity of classes, and then plenty of time after school, in the evenings, and then on weekends. The game is in how the player uses this time. Without the guide, I will once again say that I feared using my time suboptimally, because that's the way I use my time in real life. When writing this paragraph, it's been about 2 weeks since I wrote the last part of this script. Sure, I was sick for a week in between, but I've often let weeks go by without working on a video project. That's why these come out so infrequently. Time is not my ally, and for most of my life I've been trying to wrangle it in order to dedicate daily practice towards things I want to get better at, with often poor results. In Persona 4, if I want to max a social link, I can keep spending time with that person every day that they're free. If I want to increase a stat, I can dedicate a block of time to that until it levels up. Due to the segmented nature of the game's systems, and that each block of time offers the choice of how to use it, even without a guide, it's easy to further the parts of the game the player is interested in. It won't be as efficient, but you'll always be making progress. I mean, you can go straight home and go to bed, effectively wasting your blocks of time, but at least how you is spending that time has to be better than I am, whittling hours away on Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube. And so, through bypassing the aspects of the game I was disliking through the difficulty options, I was able to engage more thoughtfully and reflectively on the aspects of the game I love. I was able to hang out in Inaba, living an idyllic high school life with friends, a part-time job, and lots of wacky adventures, all this while uncovering a dark tale of a shadow realm threatening our existence and the murderer that was using the realm for their own sick entertainment. When I did have to engage with the combat and leveling up systems, I was able to breeze through them effortlessly and go right back to what I enjoyed. When I played the PS2 version, I often had to force myself to play because there'd be whole evenings where I would have to grind to get past a difficult boss, and I knew if I put the game down for a few days, I would never pick it back up. This is a game I wanted to finish, and so I knuckled down and got it done. Such discipline was not required for this playthrough. It was all too easy to keep returning to Inaba day after day, and I look forward to returning in the future. And yes, it will be on very easy again. Thanks for watching. Hey folks. Well, this took a while to come out, didn't it? There are a few reasons for it. In the video itself, I alluded to getting sick sometime in April. Well, that was just the start of it. So I think it was like a week after I got sick, 2 weeks after I got sick, very closely after I got sick, I injured my back. And that sent me back maybe a month to early June. Then I started working on this again. I got better. Then I got sick again. and just last week, I re-injured my back. So I finished Persona 4 back in February, and it's taken, almost 6 months for the video to come out. Now, there are a couple reasons for that. I mean, of course, the primary one was all the health setbacks. And the other reason why this took so long to come out is its more personal nature, not just me appearing on camera and talking a little about my insecurities in my past and how this game helped me fulfill some aspects of my personality I want to improve as power fantasy. But just as silly as it might sound, the revelation that I enjoy playing games on their easiest difficulty setting. I know that shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be. And I think I laid out my reasons for why it wasn't in this game very clearly in the video. But, there's still that feeling that I'm not giving a game a fair shake if I don't try interfacing with it on the normal setting. But, going forward, I might just stick to easy because, after all, for me, the most important thing about being a critic is to be able to articulate my personal experience through the game. If that personal experience is playing games on their easiest setting, well, that's what I'm going to talk about. But I am grateful that the video is finally out. If you enjoyed watching it, I would appreciate, the normal things, the like, the comment, the sharing with your friends, anything to get this in front of more people. And I guess I should mention what the next game is going to be. It will be the final game of the Zero Escape trilogy, Zero's Time Dilemma. Now, I played that back in March. I have the footage on my external hard drive, so hopefully it will not take another 6 bloody months before that video comes out. And after that, I'm going to try something new. So we'll see when we get there. But until next time, see you later, everyone.